Welcome, everybody. I would like to bring this special meeting of Southern Shores Planning Board to order March 2nd, 2023. If you all will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of agenda.
I move the agenda be approved.
Second.
Thank you, Ed.
Second.
Seconded by Robert. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Public comment? Would you all?
Signed up yet.
Pardon?
There's nobody signed up.
Okay. Just maybe two people that would want to speak.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be here. It's fine.
Sure.
Just stand and speak, or do I have to go to the podium?
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Matt Huban. I am the designated representative of the residents over at Southern Shores Landing. And we are fully in agreement with the town of Southern Shores for what you all are looking to do. And we hope that you guys approve this today.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Well, we have no old business before us today. We're going to move right into new business on this. And Wes, can I get you to just briefly hit that staff report that we have?
Yes,
while we're
sir.
here?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you all for getting together today. The request today is case number ZMA-2301. The action is a zoning map amendment to rezone Southern Shores Landing from C General Commercial to RS10 Residential. For an analysis, a zoning map amendment application was submitted by a resident in Southern Shores Landing to rezone the western portion of Southern Shores Landing from C General Commercial to RS10 Residential. Town staff researched the history of Southern Shores Landing and determined that the entire development is zoned C General Commercial. The official zoning map, however, shows about 2/3 of the development is zoned RS10 Residential and about 1/3 is zoned General Commercial. As a result, town staff advised the applicant to withdraw his application, and the town would proceed with the zoning map amendment application to rezone Southern Shores Landing in its entirety to RS10 Residential in order to reflect its current use and its designation on the town's existing and future land use map in the town's currently adopted land use plan. Southern Shores Landing is a planned unit development, which is not a permitted use in the RS10 residential district. This means that if rezoned, it will become a non-conforming and subject to the town's non-conformities requirements. A zoning text amendment will be required to bring it back into compliance if rezoned, which town staff can bring forward subsequently to its rezoning if it is rezoned. Just briefly, I'll just go through a few of the documents in the packet. And after I finish this and go through and touch on the recommendation, Town Manager Cliff Ogburn is going to kind of touch on the history of Southern Shores Landing and how we got here today. First, I will show you the map of properties. This is all the properties highlighted in red. I'll rotate this. You can see on the screens, and you have copies of this in your packet. This is Southern Shores Landing outlined on the outside in red. This is the entire development. The property line goes here around the dentist office, comes back up above the wastewater treatment plant, down, around, and back up. All of the individual properties or residences inside the development are also highlighted. They are all to be rezoned, as well as the large common area piece from commercial to RS10 residential. You also have in your packets a list of the properties, including the property descriptions. So I will just make sure that you all see that. The common area property is referred to with no address assigned. It's referred to as 0 Southern Shores Landing. But for all of these, we identified the lot number as well as the PIN number, the Dare County parcel ID number. In total, there are 39 properties, 39 individual pieces that we are requesting to rezone from commercial to RS10. Next, I will bring up the zoning map as it is today. And again, Cliff is going to touch on the history of the zoning map and Southern Shores Landing. I'll zoom in here on the screen. You can see Southern Shores, or this is the area Southern Shores Landing is in. However, the zoning boundary between RS10 with commercial and the dentist office and commercial adjacent to it, the boundary where it shows the RS10 and commercial boundary, it does not reflect the actual property line. So there is a portion currently of Southern Shores Landing right now that falls in this commercial area. The other, about 2/3, is shown as RS10, which is incorrect. All of Southern Shores Landing, based on our records, is zoned C commercial. None of it is RS10 residential. And lastly, I will show and this was also included in your packets, the existing and future land use map. This is the map number 12 in the town's currently adopted land use plan. And this is what's used for zoning map amendments as well as text amendments. And in this case, you can see Southern Shores Landing is identified as residential with commercial to the west and to the immediate east being the dentist office. So with respect to a recommendation, town staff recommends that you all recommend approval to the town council. The existing and future land use map in the town's currently adopted land use plan identifies this area as residential, which is consistent with the proposed zoning map amendment application. We also ask that if you all are inclined to make a recommendation of approval, that you also include a second vote or second motion and vote that states that the map amendment is consistent with the town's currently adopted land use plan. So there would be one for land use plan consistency, one vote, one motion, one vote, then another motion and vote on the approval of the application itself. And obviously the copy of the ordinance that would officially, with the official rezoning document, the ordinance ZMA 2301 was also included in your packets. There's a plan or a statement of consistency included in it, as well as a list of each of the properties by address and PIN number. That concludes my staff report and presentation, Mr. Chairman. Town manager has some things that he'd like to go over with you as well. I can try to answer questions now, or y'all can ask questions of anyone after he goes, however you want to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Wes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to share briefly how we think we got to where we are. We went back and looked at every zoning map that we could get our hands on. And in 1981, it shows this property is zone commercial. In 2000, it shows it zone commercial. And the Southern Shores Landing PUD was approved originally as Gene Guyte Woods in 1999, March of 1999. In May of 2003, the town council at the time approved a site plan for Southern Shores Landing. And on May 3rd, 2005, the town council passed a zoning map amendment that accomplished two things. And this is that ordinance. The two things were, it took out a piece of property at the western edge of the ETJ. That piece of property right there by the foot of the bridge came out of the ETJ. It's actually owned by the town of Kitty Hawk. The other thing it did was, and I'll read right from the minutes, Mayor Denny stated that the ordinance also corrects a small area of commercial property located in the Southern Shores Landing Plan Unit development that should have been included in the commercial district when the PUD was approved. And so I'll show it better on this next map, but this ordinance where that arrow is, between the arrow and the dotted line, it incorporated that property as commercial. You can see a little bit better here. The blue line was the new property line or the new zoning district, which did follow the property line of that commercial development. And so Wes has told you this, you can see that this between 05 and 2007, the change was made to somehow for this property to be zoned RS10. And so since 2007, we've represented that portion of Southern Shores Landing has been RS10. That's been what the town's official zoning map has showed since 2007. And so I wanted to show this a little bit more clear. You can see that the way the map shows now, the commercial district splits Southern Shores Landing. It doesn't follow the boundary line of the property. It just kind of cuts right down the middle there and questions whether or not there's even a piece of property that's in two zoning districts. And you can see that what the request was that initiated all this, and what made us aware was that those 7 properties on the west there were zoned separate from what we've represented as RS10. And so again, this is what the map looks like today, and this is what we're asking you to approve today, is to put the entirety of Southern Shores Landing in a residential district. That's it. It's quick.
Anybody got any questions for Cliff or Wes? Seems pretty straightforward. That's what we want to do. Should have been done at some point in time, but fell through the cracks on numerous administrations and, staff.
I'm glad you said that. None of the staff here today were here then. Just wanted to put that.
So is that the configuration of the property?
That's,
For Southern Shores for the PUD? When they did the PUD, was that the property line?
When they did the plan unit development, the plan unit development is what's outlined in red.
As originally submitted?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And Wes, it's got to be 5+ acres to be a planned unit development.
Yes, sir.
So they had it at the time.
They did. We have documents from when the review and approval took place. We have a copy of the as-built survey, and it shows that it's over 5 acres.
But just curious, in that 5+ acres, was that in what's shown in the RS10 right now, or did it include those 7 pieces to the west?
It included those 7 pieces to the west.
As
It
part
inclu-
of the 5 acres?
It included, yes. It included everything you see in red was included as part of the 5 acres.
Mhm.
Actually, this is a better representation of what's in red. The other one showed the wastewater treatment plant. I just saw that.
But the 5 acres was calculated on what we are intending to do right now.
The 5 acres broke it down into what you see in red now, and then there was it included another calculation that showed the lot area of the wastewater treatment area.
Uh-huh.
That's not included in.
The wastewater treatment area is not included in the 5 acres. If you add the wastewater treatment area into it, it was 6 and something. What's that? Yeah, 6.75. If you include the wastewater treatment, but it's a separate parcel, so that's why they showed it separately.
So why is the wastewater treatment separate from the PUD parcel?
I don't know.
Well,
It was approved showing that parcel separate. I mean, I'm not aware of a requirement right now that says that it had to be on the same piece.
so is that basically an LPP field?
It's permitted by the state. It's a state-approved and monitored wastewater treatment facility, treatment plant.
And it's, so is there any way that can be broken off from the PUD or sold separately?
Yes.
And just, I'm gonna sell that parcel and y'all do what you have to do for your own wastewater?
It could be sold separately.
It has.
Yeah, and it has been. Yeah. The current owners of the wastewater treatment plant is not the Southern Shores Homeowners, Southern Shores Landing Homeowners Association.
But the covenants or easements are in place to require that wastewater treatment plant to service Southern Shores Landing. So that change ownership doesn't change that requirement.
Doesn't change the responsibility to provide wastewater treatment.
Correct.
So if they want to sell it, they'd say, all right, well then go build a wastewater plant somewhere
You're
else.
buying Southern Shores Landing
Yeah.
service when you buy them.
And that goes how far in the future? Indefinite, or it runs with the land?
Yes, I believe it's in perpetuity.
So is the wastewater treatment plant in the commercial zone
Yes.
now after
Mhm.
we passed it? What impact does it have on the commercial property, on the commercial zone, making this change?
If this property is rezoned from commercial to RS10, being a commercial property abutting a residential property, there's a 50-foot setback that would be put into place. That would take effect.
All the way around, I mean, like the whole,
Just where it abuts commercial,
so that,
here, right on this line here.
all right, what about on the line? You know.
This property here is the church property. It's zoned R1.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm talking about in the C zone, next to the doctor's office, that area there, going east to west on that line, that gold line. No, on the commercial, there you go, that one. So, yeah,
I think the requirement states that no building, parking area, trash facilities, trash incinerator, et cetera, shall not be within 50 feet of the boundary.
yeah, and getting that site, all right, so getting that site permitted for wastewater disposal would be, they'd be under the regulations of the state.
The state they're the ones responsible for monitoring, and
And
there's a state
and what
license.
can be used in that section. It's weird that it's, well, maybe it's not weird, but, so you'd have the town regulations that say you can't do so much, can't do anything within 50 feet of the residential there to that odd shaped segment. But the area of the wastewater field would be regulated by the state, who says this is what you can do in a wastewater disposal area, which would supersede anything that the town would have, I would assume.
Well, the town does have a wastewater or utilities ordinance, but the state has their requirements as well. They have to be in compliance with both, but it's still in the town zoning. It's still subject to town zoning jurisdiction as well.
Mhm.
Wes, what is that stub in the RS10 in between the wastewater and the dentist office?
There isn't anything there. At one point, I think it was vegetated, it had trees and shrubs. I'm not sure if it's open now or if there aren't any buildings or facilities in that little strip. And why it's there, I don't know.
Did the dentist office have to provide the 50-foot buffer with vegetative requirements? Because that is, in a residential district, that red stub. Just curious, I mean, not that we need to ask them to go back and do anything, but was that a requirement, do you know, of the dentist office?
Right,
That they
so-
had to stay off that
That has,
RS10 property line?
well, you got to remember right now it's currently commercial. When the dentist office was built,
Right,
it was commercial. So it
Okay,
had to
yeah,
meet the
yeah.
commercial setback requirements. So, and I was going to bring this up as well. This property, the dentist office is owned commercial. That 50 feet is going to apply to this property as well. So we may have to consider, we will have to consider a text amendment that takes that into consideration.
mhm,
Because right now, the parking, I think, is 20 feet from the property line with Southern Shores Landing.
so how would that get handled on
Through a
a town
text,
level?
in a text amendment.
Okay. Well, the business at hand for today is, do we want to say we're in favor of the RS10 as shown up on the screen right now? Anybody got any more concerns about that? I don't. I think staff's done a thankless job about digging into the weeds and trying to find out, exactly how this occurred, when it occurred, and they did the best they could with what they had. So I'm quite sure that there probably isn't going to be any resistance from, the residents of Southern Shores Landing, these folks representing them. So I would entertain a motion to approve what's before us today in the ZTA or ZMA, sorry, zoning map amendment 23-01. Could I get a second? I'll make the motion to approve. Ed seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Okay, then we need to make a second motion. I will move that the existing, what we see on the board to
Future and existing land use map.
move the RS10 residential district into the boundaries of what we see is consistent with our current land use plan on that. Thank you, Ed. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay.
Has the owner of the parcel to the west of this property, have they made any application to the town?
No, sir.
Anybody else wish to speak at public comment section? Your last chance. Okay. Planning board member comments. I don't have any. Anybody? Ed? Wes, you have any announcements for us prior to our next planning board meeting?
Yes, sir. The next meeting will be March 20th, 5 o'clock. Land Use Plan Consultant Stewart Incorporated, they're going to join us virtually. To go over, they've refined the goals that you all went over with them previously when they came. So they're going to go over that with you, as well as some of the body of the document. And I believe they may have a map or two ready as well. So they're going to meet with you all to get your input on with some of the progress they've made.
Okay. So would you send us that packet of info prior to that?
Oh, yes, sir,
Okay.
absolutely. And then at that point, there will be seeking more input and feedback from you all. And I think sometime in April, we haven't nailed it down yet, but we're thinking sometime in April, there would be another public input meeting where the public will have an opportunity to review and comment on everything that's been drafted up to that point. But we'll keep everybody posted. There is a schedule posted on the website that references both of these meetings I just talked about.
Well, I think we accomplished what we needed to do for this special meeting today. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Adjourn.